Hey, fellow female activists, Cathy here, your wellness coach, and we are here for our wellness playlist. We are in our sleep category, and today we're talking about create FOMO for sleep. Create FOMO for sleep. All right. So we always start these videos, if you're new here, hi, hello. We always start these wellness or recommendation playlists with what we call positive quotient repetitions, or PQ reps. And we're gonna have a fun one. A lot of people don't like this one. I was one of those people, and then I realized how much fun it could be. So whether you're sitting, standing, laying down, you can perform this only if you feel safe. You can close your eyes if you wish, up to you. What we're going to do is before I start us, we're going to literally make everything on our body from my head to our toe as tense as possible. Okay, so here we go. I'll cue you. And remember to breathe. Here we go. You can close your eyes if you wish. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tense up from the head to your toe. Think about tensing up your fists, tense up your arms, tense up your face, tense up your jaw, tense up your ears if you can do that. Tense up your mouth, tense up your arms, your shoulders, tense up your back, tense up your bum, tense up your legs, your feet, your toes, scrunch it all up, scrunch it all up. Remember to keep breathing and just feel all the sensations. See and feel what that is like to have this much tension. Keep going, keep going. And now let it go. Notice the sensation. Did you take a deep breath like I did? Is your heart rate coming down? Do you feel the tingling of your circulation system working much better now? Has your breath calmed down? Do you feel a sense of flow and ease? Do you feel a little bit more clear-headed now that you're not scrunched up? If your eyes are closed, go ahead and blink them open. That is the tensing version of PQ. Not the funnest for some people, like myself. When I originally started with that one, I didn't like it at all. Why? Because I would hold my breath like it was definitely not intentional, but what happens when we get tense, right? Our whole nervous system feels unease, quite literally. So what you should have felt, okay, is once you let go, quite literally, your blood was able to flow a lot easier. And that's by design, right? So think about whenever you're in a twist of some sort, or basically, right, when a part of your body, right, falls asleep, that's because your circulation has stagnated in some way. So when you tense up quite literally intentionally, your brain is like, am I in trouble? Like, is something wrong? And then it goes into this state of fight or flight, right? But because you were okay, you were safe, you were telling your body, no, I want you to sense, I want to feel what I'm feeling. Now all of a sudden your brain has to think, oh, it has to think. It's not in fight or flight. It's like, oh, well, she's not running from something. She's not in danger. She wants to feel this, so I guess she gets to feel it. Once we let go of the tension, right? Our circulation came back. Our breathing, like literally came back as soon as we stopped. I mean, I would imagine your breath and your heart rate had to come back down to a more neutral level. But that's natural. That sensation of feeling all of this tenseness leave us should be a signal. Wait a minute. How often am I this versus letting energy flow through me? There's a big difference. And that's what hopefully you felt. So we are back and we're talking about sleep. We want you to have FOMO for sleep. Okay. And too often, the FOMO we feel, fear of missing out. Okay, if anyone's new to that acronym, FOMO, fear of missing out. If you have enough FOMO for sleep, you would understand how important it is. Okay. So I've always been an early riser since the time I was little, like a little baby, even. Well, maybe not a little baby, right? Because who isn't, right? Yeah, you have kids. Oh, anyway, from the time I was like a toddler, right? I've actually always been an early riser. And I've actually always been someone who would choose to go to bed early. Not that I wanted to, okay, mind you, when I was young, right? I always wanted to try and stay up. And it would make me mad, or I would get upset, right? Knowing that other kids or, siblings of mine could actually stay up, seemingly all night and not be the worst the wear for it, right? I myself, though, have always been an early riser, and I've always been someone who likes to generally go to bed early, whether I wanted to or not. Later on in life, okay, well after I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder, well after I went through this whole, I've always loved health, wellness, right, fitness, but never did I ever really dive into sleep until which time it was like already in 2016, I want to say. It might have been a little bit sooner, but literally, I did not appreciate. Well, let me put it this way. I will backtrack a little. When you suffer from insomnia, which I did in 2001, that is when I really began to appreciate sleep. Because when you experience any amount of time or enduring an amount of time where you're not sleeping what you would consider sufficiently, that is horrible. So anyone with insomnia or who has dealt with it like I have, raise your hand. Say me, because it sucks. It's horrible. And when I experienced insomnia for almost a week, it was awful. I then realized, holy moly, never again would I judge anyone who chose to go to sleep at a certain time or who, one way or another, at least seemed to, you know, really value sleep. And I never saw it that way up until I couldn't get sleep. So if you've dealt with insomnia, this is going to ring very true for you. You learned about FOMO for sleep very early on, right? Because of that insomnia. For people, and even now, right? Only around so even though I respected sleep since 2001, uh, it wasn't until at least 2016 that I started to really dive more into the actual physiological reasons why we sleep. I've told this fact many times. You spend a third of your life, however long you live, a third of your life is asleep. You are asleep for a third of your life. So if a third of your life is spent sleeping, you better believe it's important. And what I want you to, the previous sleep video was about, be a serious sleeper. And I didn't mean that as like, oh, you have to take it, so seriously that, you're really rigid with yourself. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I want you to understand, and the same here, is I want you to respect and love your sleep. And for many different reasons, right? Not everyone gets to, unfortunately, experience, restful sleep. And however you can get sleep, I want you to go for it. The same way that we get FOMO for wanting to stay up to watch whatever Netflix or to go to whatever show or to whatever is vying for our time, okay, when we theoretically should be asleep, you want to ask yourself, why am I getting FOMO for that particular, activity? And I'm not blaming one way or another. You get to decide, right? What is going to replace the time that you should be asleep? That's up to you. You're an adult. What I want to ask you to start thinking about is, okay, how can I create FOMO for sleep? Meaning, how can I create a better relationship with my sleep patterns, right? How can I respect sleep and realize that it's here to help me? It's not optional. I'm always, it's hilarious. One of my nephews is so funny. And I'm always telling him what parts of hygiene are optional. And I'm like, you know what? And this was a previous conversation. I'm like, okay, look, let me put it to you this way. You can go a few days without a shower. Okay, given that, you haven't been, totally stinky and, out in, the sun all day and blah, blah, whatever the course of your waking hours might have been. And showers can be optional on a daily basis, but washing up is not. So washing your face, brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth, there are certain habits that are human. Those are not optional. So sleep, I've told him in the past, is not optional. He still doesn't, quite get it, and that's okay. He's a kid. I'm all for it. And I will continue to tell him I want him to gain FOMO for sleep. Now, as a child myself, I knew what it was like. I didn't want to sleep, you know? Um, and at the same time, I realized, I think even back then, at least in the subconscious way, that it was important. So much so that it was so funny. I will give this funny anecdote. I shared a room with my eldest sister for many years, and she was a snorer even back then. So her snoring was so loud that she would wake me up from my slumber. And as kids, you can remember, and you would probably agree, we are like the deepest sleepers, right? When you're a child, hopefully you have that ability to be in a deep sleep. And that's because, we're in the growing process, right? Our body is literally growing every day. And so I remember so many times being woken up by her snoring, and I would get out of bed so upset, not like, ranging and rapping, but like I was in a half daze. I'd get out of bed. I would literally wake her up just so that she would wake up, and I knew that that would stop her snoring. And then I would go right back to bed and go to sleep. Subconsciously, I think even back then as a little kid, I realized my sleep is important. And so I'm going to get it at all costs. These days, right, I am at least aware, right, that I can wear headphones, or I'm sorry, earplugs. I can wear a eye mask, right? There are ways to get, your sleep hygiene in order to get better sleep. Excuse me. So don't think that just because you don't have ideal circumstances that you can't get better sleep. You can. You just get to, again, respect the art of sleeping and realize, okay, it's important and I am going to get my sleep. So FOMO, okay, for sleep is the subject of this video. I want you to not just only, okay, become a serious sleeper, but I also want you to respect your sleep. You will know the difference, especially as someone who's probably already just about done with menopause. I'm probably on the postmenopause size now. But any one of us who are in perimenopause or menopause now can absolutely attest to the fact that you and I both want sufficient and gorgeous sleep. You know, Females especially have for so many generations, right? Since the beginning of time, have been deprived sleep because of the roles, right, that we were assigned. And I think it's important to realize that that's actually also patriarchal in nature, like white supremacy, the whole hustle culture has a lot to do with that. So I don't want you to feel guilty. If you leave with nothing else right now after this video, remember this. Yes, I want you to create FOMO for sleep. And when you start creating better barriers that create, better sleep, you get to be guiltless when it comes to getting sleep. You will not feel guilty that you're going to turn down any invitations for, being out later with friends, family. You will not, you will be guiltless when you know, decide that, you know what, I'm going to forego this event, even though I wanted to volunteer, or, maybe, you had thought about it that you wanted to go, but now you're thinking, you know what, I think I'd rather just stay home and go to bed early. You will be guiltless. There is no reason to feel guilt when it comes to your own self-care. You get to be guilt-free as you decide, yes, I'm going to create more FOMO when it comes to sleep, because my sleep is what's going to help me become a better person. We make better decisions when we have sufficient sleep. We actually perform better, okay, optimal, right? We basically are just more compassionate. We have more patience, right? Everything about more sleep is a positive. Anytime, right? I want you to ask yourself, when you're feeling the FOMO for less sleep, give yourself a moment and decide, or give yourself that moment to decide, am I feeling guilt, or am I truly wanting to skip the sleep this time and then get something, or go for that FOMO, whatever that is? It's up to you. You're the adult, but I don't want you to ever feel guilty for deciding to sleep. I am sure that there were many other times that you gave up sleep. And now, when you really deserve and require that rejuvenation, okay, let it happen. Sleep right now is going to have two different really cool functions. One, you're going to obviously give your body what it deserves and requires, the rest. And two, when you are asleep and not, and there's a difference, I want to hit this home. There's a difference between sedation and relaxation. I want you to not rely on outside means, right, to put you to sleep. But meanwhile, what I'm getting at to end here is that when you do, okay, get to sleep, again, it's for health reasons, big time physically, but also mentally. It will be the only time during these historical moments, okay, from day to day, that your brain will actually just be at a nice low neutral, and your brain is not going 100 miles an hour thinking, okay, what's coming next? What's coming next, right? Assuming that you're safe, assuming that you have the privilege to have a safe place to sleep. That is when your brain gets to just relax for a little while. Okay. Preferably if you can do it between 7-9 hours, wonderful. But guess what? Any sleep at this point is imperative. And I'll leave it at that. We'll see you in the next video. Take care and take charge.